Hi everyone. I'm fiddling with my audio-visual setup as usual, so I don't know if we got started or not, but I'm assuming we did. So hello. Hope everyone's doing great ahead of the holidays coming up, and there is, as usual, a lot to discuss this week. So let's get to it. Let me first go through the Avalanche announcements and quickly plow through all of the exciting things that happened recently. There is a bunch. Um, the first and big one is Core Mobile. I don't know how many times you all asked me on this podcast when Core Mobile would be released, and now it's out. So check this thing out. This is kind of how it looks, and it doesn't have that helix around it. It doesn't have those logos floating in thin air, but the rest of it is exactly as it looks. It's amazing. It's really nice to use. It's got a cute logo, the owl. The owl closes its eyes, looks at you, etc. And it gives you access off the bat to Avalanche, Ethereum, and Bitcoin. It also supports every other EVM chain, should you want to use another EVM chain. Don't know why you would, but you might want to. And it builds into itself all of the things you might want to do. So if you're one of those people who looked at all these other DeFi degens doing their crazy stuff, Core is your wallet. Core is the place to get access to all this stuff. It makes it a lot easier. So bridging things over is super easy. Getting into DeFi, super easy. Swapping coins, super easy. Owning NFTs, super easy. You get to see what you own inside your own wallet. It's self-custody. You don't have to go to some Jimbo's, NFT marketplace shack and give them permission to access your assets and so forth. None of that is necessary. It should never have been necessary. That's not in the crypto spirit. OpenSea and that whole thing. It's these are, yes, they're very popular, or they were very popular for a while, but they're archaic. They're not done in the right spirit. So we're going to see, I hope, a shift towards people owning their own assets. That's what we're here for. And Core makes it really easy for NFTs. You get to see your NFTs. You can send NFTs to your friends. I've been sending a bunch to people, especially students and so on, the extra NFTs I have. So it's been a lot of fun. It's easy to mint, quickly mint your favorite NFT while at a concert. I don't do these kinds of things. I don't know who writes this stuff, but should you want to do it, it's actually very easy. Bridge Bitcoin, yes. While at a concert, while on the commode, yes, you could do that, or commute, whatever it might be. So I don't know who these people are who are like triple tasking. I think my demographic is more like I want to do one thing at a time and do it well. And Core is great for that. It's evidently also great for multitasking as well. It's really easy to use. It's really great. So check it out. The mobile version is great. There's a lot of people out there who are mobile only, and so they needed a wallet, and so this is it. And just so fun to use. Let me give you some screenshots. The one on the left is the bridging. You can connect to multiple networks. It supports all the subnets, of course, by default, as well as Bitcoin and Ethereum. And you can collect your own collectibles, show them to people easily across multiple networks, and you can have these watch lists. I'm sure you will have, as I did, some feedback after you use Core. Send it on. We want to make this thing the best thing. And we're not like the other teams. It's not going to be like, oh, you send it in and then you don't hear back for 6 months, and then something comes out, and then maybe a year and a half or 6 years later, after you start talking about something that becomes real. That's not the Avalanche ethos at all. We deliver. Avalanche has always delivered on tech. So if you have suggestions and they make sense, then they'll go into the product timeline, product roadmap, and then they will come out remarkably fast. So we take pride in this. And so check it out. I also had some suggestions. I would like to see the watch list have AVAX at the very top. There should be a sort option that says favorite order, favorite sort, favs order, or something like that. That shows AVAX and whatever the couple of other things that I'm interested in. I'm not interested in a lot of these coins over here. So whatever it is. So in any case, so let's and it says what it should say. Not your keys, not your coins. If you want to self-custody, well, and you should want to self-custody. Otherwise, you're going and trusting somebody like FTX, or you're trusting or Sam behind it, or you're trusting Binance, or you're trusting one of these big centralized entities. Don't be doing that. Take control with your own wallet, and Core gives you that thing, and you can own assets across multiple chains. You can interact with dApps easily. So it's going to be stress-free. I don't know if it's stress-free. It's far lower stress. Every time I do anything, I get stressed out a tiny bit. But Core does really reduce the stress. It's so smooth, so much better than what I was used to with MetaMask before. And it's on the Google Play Store for Android at the moment, and hopefully soon for iPhone. Okay, that brings me to my next topic. It's kind of a dreary winter out there today in New York. But I wanted to have, during these winter, I actually like the winter days. Great time to get work done. And I like the slightly cold weather. Again, good to be indoors. But we all need something to look forward to. We need something to look forward to that is not the creation of some unspecified software that, blah, blah, blah. But instead, something to look forward to where we actually enjoy having built that software, where we really have a great time having built a fantastic community. And that, for me, is the summit. And I've been an academic for, I don't know how long. It's approximately 30 years. I've been going to conferences for 30 years. I've gone to, the most degen conferences. I've gone to the most academic conferences. I've gone to conferences where politicos gathered. I've pretty much seen them all. I've seen rowdy conferences. I've seen the whole lot. And of them all, by far the very best one, and I say this with my objective hat on, I'm not because I want, but the very best conference I've ever been to was the Avalanche Summit last year. Just great vibes. That's, I think, I don't know how to capture vibe. It's like, for those of you who read Zen and the Art of Motorcycle Maintenance, you know that the whole book is about capturing quality. How do you define good? What is good? What's the metrics, etc. I don't know the metric for a conference. It's vibes. And I don't know what the unit of measurement is for vibes. We should have something. But let's maybe collectively think about what the unit ought to be, and then it's like, I don't know what it is. What's a good vibe? I don't know. Maybe Snoop, Mega Snoop, Micro Snoop, that kind of thing. I don't know. The Snoop's vibes are kind of different though. So like good vibes. And so the summit was fantastic last year. It had the right mix of technological achievement, new technological announcements, and business partnerships with a lot of people who matter, and lack of freedom from VCs. It's just freedom from VCs, freedom from people who are in it just to make money, and a huge number of people who are really excited about the field. Avalanche also, unlike all these layer 2s and so forth, which are all scavengers, Avalanche brought in a huge number of new people to the scene, to crypto. And it was so wonderful to see everybody there. By far the best conference I'd ever been to, factor of 10 better than anything else. So I'm excited. I don't know that we'll be able to live up to the hype at Avalanche Summit II. It'll probably be a letdown. It's now a bear market at the moment. It might pick up by the time the summit is out. And, so who knows? It's going to be hard to match the same vibe, same energy. It'll always be different every time you run this. So I don't know. I'm anxious, but I'm super hopeful because we did it once as a community. It was so great. Barcelona is a great host city, and I hope to see you all there. And this is just a picture. I don't know. Oh, I am in there. Who's this guy? Look at that guy. He's looking around thinking, and then look at all these other people around me just having a great time. This is, I think, right after the hackathon. I think these people hadn't slept for like 2 days or 3 days or something like that. And so anyhow, it was a blast. The new summit is going to be at Poble Español in Barcelona, Spain on May 3 through May 5th. So pencil that in. Would love to see you. This was the giant red and white tent under which we gathered. And then there's a whole entire village that we sort of spread out to, and a lot of concurrent activities. Excellent people. lots and lots of fun. I've been to a bunch of ETH events as well, which are also fun, but this is next level. As I said, 10x better than anything else I've seen. So we hope to make it even better next time, even more technical stuff, and even more fun people. I think there are a lot of people got FOMO last year. I hope they will show up this year. They won't be deterred by the bear market. Bear markets don't really, affect the Avalanche community. We're here for a very long time. We know we will outlast any bear market. How long can these things last? Even if they last, whatever it is, whatever might happen. We're going to be here for a while, and we're going to have fun. We're going to change the world. We are changing the world, and we're going to have fun doing it. So come join us. It'll be great. Okay, other news. Coinbase adds direct support for Avalanche native USDC. So you can just say, hey, give me some USDC. Give it to me on Avalanche. It should be issued out to you in a matter of seconds. And then you can then transmit that USDC to anyone else around the globe in a matter of seconds as well. And so if you want to do an exchange-to-exchange arbitrage, if you want to send money really, really fast and immediately, then you know the chain to do it on. This is how you do this. It is the fastest chain anybody ever built. I think we're even faster than the centralized chains. Like if you were using Justin Sun's laptop for your accounting, you could probably send things. You would think that you should be able to send things very fast, but Justin is not a techie. I don't know how he set up his laptop, and he certainly gave it a nice 4-letter acronym name. So you could use, that's a system that people use for arbitrage between exchanges. It's, you could trust him and do that. But I think we're faster than even his laptop. So, and we are decentralized. So it's a Byzantine fault tolerance system against I don't know what that other thing is. But so anyhow, it's super fast. It's obviously much faster than Ethereum, much faster than everybody else. It's just great to use. And so if you want to use it, it's great. We like people using natives over bridging stables. Natives they bring us TVL to the chain, so natives are better. And so come use it. It's great. So 108 million users now have access to USDC on Avalanche, and USDC on Avalanche is useful for a lot of things. You can buy things from Trader Joe. You can buy things from any of the NFT marketplaces on top of us, etc., etc. And we are now number 2 in terms of the amount of USDC minted on it, only behind ETH. How surprising is that? Not at all. So it's great to have, right? So there's a lot of stables around, and if you want to do anything against the stable, with a stable, etc., so try it out. The chain is there. In other news, we ended up having our 500 millionth transaction maybe 3 days ago. These are great. I don't know what to make of it, but maybe here's the takeaway from this. There were 500 million transactions. Not a single one was a mandatory transaction. Not a single one. This is crypto. People only submit a transaction if they get value out of it. Not a single one of these transactions was a fluff transaction. We never spammed our own chain. There are a bunch of chains out there who want to create the illusion of activity. And there is a saying in Silicon Valley, which I hate. I've always hated it with a passion. It goes against everything I stand for, everything we stand for, which is fake it till you make it. So there's a bunch of people out there who think it's completely okay. Like they wouldn't fake anything in their own personal lives, I would hope. But when it comes to business, it's like it's totally okay to them to do wash trading, to create fake activity on chain, etc. And so there are chains out there spamming their own system with weather data. There are chains out there spamming their own system with a bunch of transactions that don't matter. Not to mention the chains that are out there trying to do funny accounting. They're counting transactions that are not even transactions. They've skewed the whole thing. Their own protocol inefficiency somehow counts as TPS numbers for them. So not counting those. We've never engaged in any of those practices. All 500 of these things, all 500 million of these transactions were transactions that somebody did because it was an economically useful activity at the time. So pretty darn awesome. Here's to another 500 million to come. We'll celebrate the billionth transaction hopefully soon, at this rate fairly soon, and we'll go from there. So there's going to be a lot of naysayers. Anytime there's a bear market kind of a situation, every time there's a scandal, everyone comes out of the woodwork. Usually these people who are coming out of the woodwork are people, the best of them, the very best of them, are people who are technically savvy, but got all their technical information in a previous era. They looked around maybe 5 years ago. They're somewhat early, not that early, but somewhat early. They looked around five years ago. Bitcoin maxis were at their full blast. They look at Bitcoin and say, what is this? This is slow. It's a 3 transactions per second database, can clearly not handle and cannot deliver the vision it's selling, right? Bitcoin at the time, the vision was not store of value 5 years ago. The Bitcoin value proposition has changed drastically over the years. So at the time they looked at it, they said Bitcoin can't do payments. And then Ethereum comes along, and then, whatever it is, and they look at Ethereum, they go, well, this thing can't do half the things it's promising. It's already promised so much, not delivered all that much, and so on. So then they take away, and then they look at their own sad Facebook stock options or whatnot, and then which I've been in a down only trend, and then they have hatred for crypto for, in their eyes, not having the substance and yet making a bunch of people rich. And it's understandable. It's very human. You get a lot of backlash against the crypto area because of these people. These people are out of date. They weren't early enough to get the vision. They're not super early adopters. They're not super stragglers either, but they came in at the wrong time. And you don't see young people adding to this cacophony. They understand what's going on. They usually came in at a later stage, and they saw Avalanche. They saw the other fast chains. They understand that you can actually scale now. And we have the subnet architecture to be able to scale infinitely. And so there's a whole bunch of things that have happened that people have missed. And so anyhow, long story short, there are a bunch of people that you're going to hear from who are going to be like, oh, Bitcoin, crypto is good for blah, 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 not all that much, etc. I want to address that, and I want to have a series on Twitter where I look at why we do crypto the way we do crypto, why I focused my career in academia on crypto, blockchain, and related technologies, peer-to-peer technologies, and why, in general, this area has taken off. So these naysayers, they don't understand, and part of their anger also comes from, why is it that there's a movement and I'm out of it? Let me try to convince the world vehemently that they have it wrong, because I have clearly, it can't be the fact that I'm being left out of something, but it can, right? When the internet came out, imagine how your parents felt. They're like, oh yeah, we've seen the fax machines. They're kind of useful, but not that great. I don't understand what the big hoopla is. And if the kid is going to get really excited about the internet, the parents are going to be like, well, let me even go on a 75 tweet rampage about why this thing is kind of like the fax machine, and nobody should get excited. So that's the kind of backlash we're going to see against crypto that I'm sure I know we're seeing against crypto. And yet 500 million transactions, all of which are economically useful. They required money to pay for them. Somebody decided, I will do this. It's going to be a fun thing, a good thing, or whatever else kind of a thing. So I'm super thrilled, very excited about the next 500 million to come. And I'll also be addressing in a tweet thread, or in a series of tweet threads, the whole "this is why we crypto" thing. And I want to share with you just vignettes. I am not going to go into a discussion. It's not going to be a formal reading. It's just, here's a vignette from the real world. And look, crypto would have done it so much better. Repeated day after day for at least a while, for at least over the holidays. So with that, let me take some questions, and let's chat. My voice is probably going to give up on me at some point. So we are, I will call it in half an hour. Okay, so let's go back up here. What are my thoughts on the Rush collaboration with YieldYak and GMX? Oh, exciting. Okay, so I have to be honest here and admit something. Half the time I hear from you guys what the hell's happening in Avalanche. So there's just too much going on, and I'm only one person, and I'm a techie through and through, and I think about protocol stuff. I think about, protocol adjacent stuff, and sadly, I cannot possibly follow everything that's happening in Avalanche. So I'm thrilled. I didn't know about it. There's a yield yak GMX. GMX I happen to love. Perps are great. There's a vacuum left behind by the FTX fraud operation. And okay, that's a rant I don't want to go into. But those of you who are faithful listeners will have heard me talk about the accounting on a certain chain, the TPS accounting on a certain chain, and I was very indignant at the time, and I was like, guys, like this is wrong. You can't do this. It's misleading. You don't account for TPS. You don't fluff up your numbers. If you do, it's fraud. And once you have fraud at any level, then you'll end up having fraud at every level. It's just the way it works. It's like once it creeps in, once it's part of your DNA, then it's everywhere. It's just, you can't escape it. And see what happened. Right? So the FTX fraud was very much intertwined with every other fluffed up number. I mean, the FTX fraud was a fraud based on fluffing up another number. It was a game of increase the price, hold a lot of coins, multiply the two, claim that to be your net worth, even though obviously these coins are worthless. They don't do anything. It's just paper gains. But borrow against it and steal people's funds. Anyway, I don't want to talk about this. But now that stupidity is gone, now that it's being kind of cleaned out of our system, there's a lot of room for perps. GMX provides perp trading, derivative trading on top of Avalanche. It's really good to see. And there's a lot of yield to be had there. And I personally find it difficult to chase yield. I don't have time. In fact, I don't chase yield or anything of the kind. So I just do very long-term trades. But that's me. Those of you who want to more actively take part in all of this stuff, who enjoy it, etc., I enjoy it too. I just don't have the time. But those of you who want to do this, you probably want to, you might want to consider yield yak, which is a way of automating that process. So that combo seems really, really powerful to me, and I can't wait to see how it will pan out. Okay, let's read the next question. I use a Chromebook. What are my thoughts on its architecture while developing the core wallet? Question about Chrome. Don't use an antivirus kit. I don't use any such thing. Are you on Windows? Then I don't know what to do. Don't use Windows. Don't use antivirus software. Almost all of it, I don't know. Last I checked, which was more than 15 years ago, all antivirus software was itself a virus. And remember how you couldn't delete McAfee from your computer? It was just impossible to get rid of it. So it's just all scammy stuff. So good. You're not using an antivirus. You're using Chrome. I use Chrome too. It's good. What are my thoughts on this architecture? I don't. Yeah, it's great. So install the core wallet. Don't look back. That's my thoughts. That's what I do, and it works beautifully. In the earlier days, it interacted a little bit with MetaMask. I don't know what happens if you have to switch between MetaMask and Core. I think it's been fixed up so that it's seamless and beautiful now. I remember that 2 months ago, maybe, people were saying, hey, it's a little clumsy to switch between the two. I believe that's been addressed. Chrome is my preferred platform for using the core wallet. So yeah, you should use it. It works beautifully for me, at least. I've tried to reach you via email, but failed. Okay. I can't read this right now. I'm going to pass through. Email is the preferred way to get to me. And I haven't been reading my email for a while, and you can guess why, because we've been working on a whole bunch of things. Holidays are coming up. I'm hoping to catch up. Just stay put. Sometimes people send me a message in the morning and then get upset by the afternoon for not getting a response. I'm not like one of those people who's super caught up on their email. I just kind of sit on it and get to it in batches. So I apologize if I haven't responded to you. Any background music artists you listen to focus while working? Yes, I just got my Spotify year in review or whatever it is. And in fact, people at the company were asking me this exact question. I'll share with you my top artist of the moment. It is Milky Chance. I love their stuff. Flash Junk Mine is the song that starts out my Spotify, whatever it is, related songs list. So I like Americana, I like bluegrass, I like folksy stuff. And I've always been a huge Bob Dylan fan, so anything in that lineage, if you will, I happen to love. So these days it's Milky Chance. Before this, maybe 6 months ago, it was Rainbow Kitten Surprise. Just a great name for a band, by the way, and a fantastic band, great sound. And then before then, it was Camp, I think. Yeah. So those are the three I think that should give you an idea of what I listen to. And I also have found something interesting, that everybody has a resonant frequency. At least that's what I think. Everybody has a song that's playing in the back of their minds, and so once you figure out what song is playing in their mind, then you figure out that person. So and it's not really predictable. You know, you'll sometimes see a little proper prim, whatever it is, like say very, very proper looking person, and you discover that, hey, they were real big metal fans when they were teenagers, and then once you figure that out, you realize, hey, like, they're really listening to Iron Maiden in the back of their heads, and then you sort them out. So and for some people it's really different. Some people have operatic stuff happening, and they're like on a different level, etc. For me, it's Bob Dylan protest songs. That's what's going on behind my eyes. Okay, I like the Core Port too. Okay, Core Wallet is great. Yes, I agree. It's really nice to use. You should check it out. It makes life a lot easier. Is it possible in the future to bring transaction parallelization to the C chain? Yeah, of course it is. So these are good questions. And every now and then, someone with some clout goes on a rampage, and a technical rampage, and puts some idea in the collective consciousness. So usually, no, let me revise it. Almost always, this happens with bereft of any scientific backing. Suddenly, we're talking about whatever, some weird variant of sharding or whatnot, and it's just like, why are you doing this? Or VRFs are right there. They were shiny objects, and now we have to worry about VRFs or VDFs, verifiable delay functions, or accumulator. And suddenly I start getting a gazillion questions about these things. I will remind you that VRFs, everybody discussed them for a year and a half. Where are they now? Find me a VRF. So Chainlink has one. That's nice. So it became a small component of something that plays remarkably small role, given how much it occupied everybody's consciousness. VDFs, nobody's using them as far as I can tell. And accumulators, definitely no one in the cryptocurrency space is using it. That's not to say these are not being used in cryptography. They're being used in cryptography. They're not being used, at least as far as I can tell, in cryptocurrencies. So, transaction parallelization, this suddenly became a thing. Somebody's claiming that this is important. It's because, usually this is driven from the other direction. There are two kinds of academics. There are two kinds of researchers. One kind, I'd like to think I'm in this, we identify problems, then we go after solutions. This requires a hell of a lot, a complicated toolkit, because you're going to find the problem. I love to go into situations where other people have identified the problem. I love to go into fields where the problem is well defined. Everyone's working on it. It's clear. There's a giant hill, Everest. We're going to climb to the top of it. That's the problem. How do we do it? Blockchains don't scale. The consensus protocols cannot be made fast. How do we make them fast? That's the kind of thing that I like to go into. And then there's another kind of person, which is bottom up. They're tinkering. They're tinkerers. At any one time, they're tinkering with stuff, usually number tricks or usually little systems tricks. And then they find something, and then now they have a solution, and now the solution has to get pushed. And so I think transaction parallelization is essentially one of these things. If you look at what's happening, in a typical VM, parallelizing transaction verification or execution is yeah, sure, you could do it. You could do it, and you might even get some gains. But at the moment, is it really the most pressing thing? I don't think so. But I will say this: it has been on our radar for a year and a half, and we have gone through multiple prototypes of transaction parallelization efforts, and so that's all I'm going to say. Every time I say stuff like this, expect an actual release. We mentioned this Enclave, for example. It's the third iteration or fourth iteration of Enclave-based exchanges. There will be a fifth one that's a different product using similar technologies, and there will be others. So, and these things are all in the pipeline. I did not like, and I never enjoyed, and I pretty much never engaged in hype building, where the hype being built is some technology to be developed. I'm not a big believer in this. I know there are communities out there that are nothing but this. They're constantly waiting for something. I keep calling these the Godot technologies. When Godot arrives, it's going to be a glorious day, just like in the play by Beckett. It's just going to be amazing when he arrives. And then, and after a while you realize, hey, this Godot thing, as it starts taking shape, it looks kind of like every other person out there, maybe not all that great looking. Oh, he's got some flaws, and he walks differently, etc. And so suddenly people don't really want Godot to arrive, so they invent a new Godot and they keep on waiting for it. So we don't do this in Avalanche, but I'm going to change this because you guys have been asking for a roadmap, and in the first 6 weeks of next year, we're going to be releasing our roadmap and plans across different technologies. This is a lot harder for us than many other people. Why? Because many other people are single track. So they're working on only the platform or only a wallet or only a particular dApp. So we're not like that. We are working on the totality of the blockchain system, minus the dApps, of course. But we have a platform. We have a wallet, a command center. We have a bridge, the best of its kind, platform, best of its kind, bridge, best of its kind, wallet, easiest experience, most elegant user experience of its kind. Bridge I mentioned, and now a marketplace, Enclave Cross, to be followed by a future release on that front. So we're going to write out all of the plans. I keep talking to you guys at these Friday discussions. I tell you about where we are, what we're doing behind the scenes a little bit, and then you go away and then you do a comparison to a project that is an insane roadmap. I have seen projects where like Mars exploration is on the roadmap. Okay, so and then you look at the people behind it. It's like 5 people and a dog. You're like, guys, like it's just 5 people and a dog. You're writing about Mars exploration or whatnot, what have you, and you've delivered nothing. You essentially took a very well-known result from distributed systems and then just turned it loose on in a public setting. I don't even think you have the longevity to stay around for 6 months. And in most cases, these people just disappear. They sell you a roadmap and then they disappear. We don't do that. We never did. And we instead deliver. We deliver actual working products across all of these dimensions. So that's the difference between us. But transaction parallelization has been on our roadmap just because it's an easy thing to do. It's easy, fairly straightforward for a systems person. It would take one of my students about an afternoon to build. At Ava Labs with my star engineers, it would take a little longer because they do things to a higher standard. So I would say maybe a day and a half, having been tested with the test suites and so forth. Maybe 2 days and a half, 2.5 days. So anyhow, yeah, we'll definitely, it's definitely on our roadmap. It's not as big a deal as people will make, but when you have a comprehensive way to approach the entire execution problem, it should be on there. You should not overlook it, and you should have the wherewithal to go and implement it. So that's what we're going to do. Okay. Do you have any plan for improving our marketing strategy? Do I? Yes, that's such a great question. Thank you. As I mentioned, we are incredibly good at developing software. We're incredibly good at partnerships. Now, let me just give you a reminder. You know all about the technology. I talk about it a lot. But on the partnership space, there's Ethereum. Ethereum does what Ethereum does. There's all these layer 2 scavengers. None of them are decentralized. They all make a lot of noise. They're all carving out a piece of Ethereum, the Ethereum apps and so forth. They're trying to pull it into themselves. They're not bringing anything new to the space. They are not representing the space to the external world. And so it's a super asinine parallel to the ICO craze that we had. So for a while, everybody was ICOing, and now everybody is doing this layer 2 thing. And it's just like, guys, like most of these layer 2s are complete total trash technologically. One of them goes backwards. It's a chain that goes backwards. And we're supposed to believe that the people who couldn't build a chain that goes forwards only are going to be able to build actual decentralized high performance solutions. All right, it's like, whatever you want to believe, you might call that person Godot, and then, when you fantasize about it, you could actually steal the lines from the play. You don't even have to think too hard. It's going to be so glorious when Godot arrives. It's going to be, I heard so many things about this Godot. Anyway, so as for us, we're incredibly good on the technical front. We're incredibly good on the business partnership front, and that's what I wanted to mention. If this space is going to go to the next level up, then we need instruments on it that are not reflexive, that are not inwards oriented, that are not all about, oh, this coin's going to go up when this other coin also goes up. Okay, because then that's circular, and when a crash happens, then you have all the cascade failures downstream. The only way you break through this is by bringing onto the chain, not the only way, but the main way you break through this is by bringing onto the chain coins that have entirely different use cases and coins that are tied to real world income flows. So to that end, we partnered with KKR. Now, what's KKR? You've never heard of it. Probably you're a DGen. You might not have heard of any of this stuff. KKR has many, many billions in assets, maybe more, actually trillions in assets. I think it has trillions in assets. KKR is the largest asset manager. They do funds every now and then. And when they do a fund, so many intermediate organizations vie for participation in these funds that they are insanely oversubscribed. So when they decide, hey, we're going to do a healthcare fund that invests in healthcare companies in the United States and returns back to the token holders or the shareholders of the participants a dividend based on these investments. When they announce such a fund, you and I cannot get into it. In fact, the Goldmans and JP Morgans of the world, they can obviously get into it, no problem. But even they cannot get into it at the level they would like to get into. The funds are oversubscribed. They're 3x oversubscribed. So, if you are a large bank in Europe and you've got a whole bunch of money that you're holding on to and you want to invest it and you want to go to KKR, well, great, take a ticket, get in line. There's like 3 times as many people as there are seats in the house. So in that kind of a universe, we carved out an allocation, not we, but on Avalanche, and with a little bit of participation from Avalabs, people who ended up doing the marketing and the infrastructure for this. So people carved out an allocation from the KKR's most recent healthcare fund, 3x oversubscribed, such that people could go and purchase this thing on the open market. As I mentioned before, there's no intermediaries. Normally, your bank would try to get into this, and then your bank would use it in some kind of an offering to you, or some kind of an investment bank would use this, and then you would buy into a fund provided by the investment bank. So, or you'd have your retirement, and then you'd elect to put a little bit of your savings into some fund managed by somebody who would then manage to get into the KKR. I mean, this is insane. You're paying a lot of those intermediaries, and now you can just cut through all this. So the KKR offering is there. Anybody, accredited investors in the U.S. only, of course, but people can get into it. I think it's amazing that there are tools like this. I think it's amazing that we are bringing to the space both the cutting edge tech as well as the kinds of things that the space really needs to level up to the next billion people, and to a more robust foundation through bear and bull markets. Now, where am I when it comes to marketing this stuff? Where am I when it comes to like how many people know this? And in general, we have not been very good at all. At Ava Labs, I think my marketing team, I'll just be super frank with you, has been just kind of morphed into communications. That is, we are famous, I think, for doing a crap ton of work, like 2 years of effort for 24 people. And these people ignore their kids. They pour like night and day and their souls and blood, sweat, and tears into a product. And then the marketing team does one announcement and then it scrolls off the timeline. So I think we need to fix this. I have said this a while ago, and I'm taking lots and lots of steps to change this from the ground up. So it requires a different culture. It requires a different approach, requires different processes. And so we're going to be doing that. And this is my number one task. I said this last time. I've been working on it nonstop. And it's definitely the one thing that I'm really excited about because, I don't think on the technical side, my team could work any harder. It's the best, most producing team. So on the marketing side, though, I think small changes will lead to huge improvements. So I'm really excited about what's to come in the next year. Off-ramp channels will be coming to this area soon. How long will it be possible for us to switch to fiat in the app in the future? I don't know. I don't quite understand. I can't quite parse the question. Switch to fiat from the app. So you want to convert your coins to fiat in the app. I don't know that we have any plans to do off ramps off of Core, but I wouldn't really know. What I think I could do is bring the product manager for Core to the podcast. I wanted to do that. He's currently slightly sick and getting better, but with COVID-like stuff. But yeah. So let me bring in someone, and then we talk then. Because I don't know. I shouldn't say. I just don't know of the plans to do off ramps. Off ramps are highly regulated. I think when it's time to take money out, you will need to interact with somebody who has all those relations with the banking systems around the world, and so that needs to have built by someone. It's a non-trivial operation to build it up. Opa, okay, what's Opa? We're doing this. Are we Greek now? We could be Opa indeed. It's hello to all our Greek friends. Afternoon to people for whom it's the afternoon. When will we be able to become delegates on the P platform chain from Core Wallet? Great question. I cannot wait. I want to get rid of the legacy wallet that we have and just switch everything to Core. It's beautiful. It's so much better. I can't wait. So when we do switch, it's going to be great. So let's do that. I think the team is working very, very hard on this. It's their next thing. I don't like to give out timelines. You know how fast we deliver. I said the Core mobile thing is coming. It was delayed mostly on security audits. So it was ready. You guys started asking me about it in October, I think early October. And around then it was pretty much ready. But we needed the security audits, and getting the audits done, scheduled. You have to get on the auditors' lists and so forth. That took a while. So we're on top of these things, and this is, I think, literally the next thing that the team is working on. Avalanche stands apart. Yes, that's a bit of marketing. That marketing saying is something I came up with. We do stand apart. We stand apart in terms of the tech we've built. Our tech is different from everyone else's. If anybody had 1/10 the technology we do, we would never hear the end of it. Because these people, like when you don't have tech, then you either have business partnerships, and they're easy to get. You just throw money at people. You give people lock tokens, then they give you business. That's something that people, certain chains do. The other thing is you just do marketing. All you do is community management and marketing. And we're the exact opposite somehow. And now we need to sort out our marketing here. But somehow I came up with this phrase, and we do stand apart. We stand apart in terms of the tech. Not just the platform tech. Our bridge tech is also revolutionary. We brought something into the space that nobody has. It's secure. It's the #1 TVL bridge. Absolutely the fastest bridge you could be using, the cheapest bridge you could be using. When it comes to exchanges, so look at Enclave. It's just entirely new technology. It's better than everything in crypto. It's better than everything on Wall Street. And if done right, it gets rid of the need for any regulation, for any auditing. Audits at exchanges are impossibly hard. So you've got this exchange, and then the auditors come in post facto, and with some probability they discover malfeasance, then you have a scandal, and we have those at least twice a year. There's a minor exchange thing on the New York Stock Exchange or on NASDAQ or something going on, information leakage, market makers signaling to each other using the lowest digit of the bids they place on the exchange. Look it up. This all happened. I can't make this stuff up. So all of those things happen in traditional exchanges. And if instead you go to crypto techniques, if instead you use systems techniques, if instead you go to a platform like Enclave, then you can categorically rule out all kinds of malfeasance. The auditor has to audit the code once, and then they never have to check for a class of malfeasance ever again, as opposed to this constant cat and mouse game. So I'm super proud of where we are, and I'm super proud of how far we stand apart from the rest of the DREC in crypto. We are literally different in every way: attitude, technology, business partnerships, and sadly, we're different in the way we do marketing as well. We have to fix that a little bit. So anyhow, that was my phrase. I've been mentioning that. I love that phrase. Avalanche does stand apart. Okay. So there's a lot of Turkish discussion here, I guess. Opa, indeed, again. Do I anticipate the creation of liquid staking tokens? If has it at all changed your original intentions for delegation mechanics? Yes. So liquid staking is a thing, and I am currently thinking in the back burner. There is some thought given to delegation mechanics and how to create a healthier delegation and staking environment. So there is going to be a staking economy being formed, and I can't wait to see it. We've talked about this before. Delegation also has to be an interesting game, and so there's some tensions. I will mention some of them because I'm sure they're on your minds as well. So we would like more people to stake than delegate. That's better for everyone. There should be more stakers, right? And to do that, we probably have to lower staking requirements. But another thing one might want to think about is increasing the minimum delegation fee. So it's 2% right now. That could go up a little bit. So that's something on my mind. And I don't know what to do about it. So changing those kinds of things is not something that we take lightly. It would take governance. It would take a lot of thought and discussion. But so that's something on my mind. The presence of liquid staking, of course, also changes the game. And we want it to be such that we don't want any... We want the underlying protocol to be predictable. We don't want any big motion of capital in and out of the system, because that would cause destabilization at the protocol level, or it can cause issues at the protocol level when large numbers of validators are entering or exiting the system. So we have to think these things through, and there are also other things one can do that have legal entanglements. But you could stake. And after you've staked your tokens, you could get back claim tokens. And then those claim tokens could be used to entitle you to get the rewards later. And this has all kinds of implications, legal implications. And last thing I want to do on a nice rainy, quiet day like this is to think about legal stuff. So not my stuff, not my thing at all. But we should think about all of these things, because doing them could yield interesting new dynamics that might be useful, that might be interesting to people. So this is, I would say, it's not of immediate concern for me right now, not at least not for me. But it is something that in the medium term we should be thinking about. And liquid staking is an interesting general topic. But staking and delegation dynamics is the real big topic that is somewhat on the back burner. So post summit, perhaps we should revisit this whole issue. When are Vox going to be supported by Ledger directly? I don't know. So the Ledger folks are kind of odd and interesting. We brought so many users to Ledger, so many. And I had a chat with them. It's a very hierarchical organization. I think the people I spoke to understand how useful we have been to them. They know exactly how many Avalanche users we brought to them. And Ledger had some interesting maxis in it when we first started. So by now those have turned over. And I think they understand, some people there understand what we've done for them, but others are, I don't know, it's very hierarchical, very slow. So I can't speak for them, but I can say the following thing. We're going to have a new Ledger app. So our current Ledger app is based on one kind of a technology, and we've been working silently on a re-implementation of the entire stack. And the next one should be a lot more flexible, and I won't steal its thunder and the other things it does, but there will be a new version of it. So yeah, I'm hoping that the Ledger folks see the light and they understand that they need to get going a little faster on integrating us into Ledger Live. Will Burn the Vox ever be used to pay stakers? Oh, great question. I don't know. Burn the Vox is great, and I love the fact that we're burning the coins. What I don't know is what will happen, say 5-10 years from now, in case we burn so much. I worry about this, so when the time comes, we should have a conversation. Hi, Christian. Hello to everybody. I often heard that a subnet is a chain dedicated for a single application. We do say that, but sometimes people say that. I sometimes say that. I sometimes say subnets are like app chains, but it's misleading. So let me answer your question. I was wondering whether anyone can deploy a smart contract on a subnet or only subnet operators. Great question. When you create your subnet, when a subnet is created, there is a configuration file that specifies who can do what on the chain. In particular, who can submit transactions and who can engage in advanced operations like being able to deploy smart contracts. There are a bazillion other parameters that you can also configure to your heart's content, like the fee structure, etc., what token the fees are paid in, what tokens the staking is done in, etc. But there's a lot of configurability. But for this question, the thing that matters are those two things. And in fact, the second of those two things. So depending on how the subnet got created, you can easily open up a subnet for contract deployment by anybody, or by selected parties, or by nobody, or whatever else in the middle. There's a whole spectrum. It's all out there for the taking. It all depends on what the purpose of a subnet is. Subnets are not single application chains. They can be, but they don't have to be. And there are many different subnet deployments, which are a bunch of people in a consortium coming together to create a common accounting baseline, if you will, that is shared. So imagine, suppose you and I get together and we want to do something like the C chain. We could have the totality of the functionality on the C chain open to you and me, or open to you, me, and everybody we like, or open to you, me, everybody, and the whole world if we like. It's all up to us. And you could create another C2 chain, if you will, for example, and have a subnet that's an exact duplicate of the C chain. It's entirely possible. So yes. So the answer to your question is yes. You can do whatever you might want to do when it comes to deploying smart contracts on subnets, depending on the subnet. There are some subnets out there that restrict who can deploy smart contracts, and so on those, there's a game. That game is only for game users to use in a prescribed fashion, and it's a subnet, so you can see it, that everything in the game is transparent. So they might not allow you to deploy subnets. What do I think about AI-generated images? I love them. They're fantastic. And someone generated some of my images. My friends love them, and they're hilarious. And yeah, it's a new world of deep fakes. Deep fakes are insanely more convincing now. I can't wait to have the first political. I'm really excited to see the first political fight where somebody puts up some deep fakes and the other person says, that's not my naked pictures, those are deep fakes, etc., etc. It's going to be a lot of fun and funny times ahead. I generally love everything that's related to technology, especially this kind of technology, and I'm really curious about where this is going to go. If I have some free time, I have some ideas for some cool NFTs that are based on generative art. So to ease the onboarding of new users from other chains, integrate Thor swap DEX aggregation. Yes, we're going to do better than that, Jonathan. So Core is currently what it is, but the vision for Core, the roadmap for Core, contains this particular item that let me leak to you all. So we want to be able to introduce into Core the ability for any dApp developer to inject code. So imagine that you've got your Core mobile wallet, and you have a page that's been given to you from Trader Joe, let's say. And the Core wallet can show this to the users and can allow the users to interact with it and do so in a safe and trustworthy fashion. And so now suddenly the Core wallet is a very different experience. It not only has those things that we support, bridging, etc., swaps, etc., but now you can have any other thing. You want to have a game inside the browser? Sure, why not? You want to have a different kind of swap? Sure. You want to have a new kind of an NFT operation? Sure. Whatever you might want to do, you should be able to inject into the browser. I hope that answers the question. I think I'm fully with you. We're even upping the game from what you mentioned. Will subnets with Move VM and whatever VM Solana uses, that would be the WASM VM, be added as an AVAX subnet? Yes, I guarantee it. It will happen. We talked about this last time. There are no users of the Move VM. I looked at that VM. It's okay. It's far better than the WASM VM, which I think is pretty crappy. And the EVM is better than WASM VM, and Move is probably, it's got some features that are technically simpler than the EVM, so that's good. Still not ideal, still has many quirks, and undoubtedly these things that have been less time tested have quirks in them that will cause DeFi protocols to lose many hundreds of millions of dollars. How do I say this so confidently? Well, they say the best way to predict the future is to simply tell people about the present. Okay, so what's happening right now? It already happened. Somebody already lost $330 million, I believe, due to a runtime bug in the WASM interpreter plus the runtime. So when you have a system, it's not just the execution engine, it's also the libraries and runtime, they go together. So there was a bug in the runtime and it got exploited. So we could support them officially. That is to say, not officially. We could, Avalabs, I could go into this. Avalabs could go into this, and we could add support for WASM VM and Move VM. Those of you who have been listening to me for some time know that we've had a WASM VM for approximately 2.5 years. So it's been in the can for 2.25 years. Okay, so it's been a long time. This thing, I worked on it. I wrote some tiny bit of the code in it. I wrote. So this thing's been around. We never rolled it out. Why would we? There are no real applications. There's only downside. And we needed to focus on getting the C chain working beautifully, which we did. We needed to work on getting the fee structure there working beautifully, which we did. And now we're focusing on getting subnets. So I think our path is fairly clear. And I don't quite see the upside from deploying these things It's not like Solana has a complicated, rich DeFi system. You will remember that there was one guy, Ian something, pretending to be 11 different developers. I was getting messages saying, hey, you look, Solana, you're ignoring Solana. It's got such a great system. Look at all these apps. They all turned out to be the same guy. It's just the one person, literally the one person. He was pretending to be multiple people. It's that fraud in the DNA situation was happening there. Anyway, so are we going to support these things? I'm not doing anything whatsoever to support either Move, which I think is a stillborn VM. Nobody's clamoring for a new VM. It's not something that gets you all that much. The EVM is perfectly fine, and Move doesn't bring us anything that isn't already in the EVM. It's just a less tested version of the EVM in some sense. It's got some niceties, but undoubtedly it's got enough quirks that the two cancel each other out with a skew towards the negative. And then WASM, again, not that much goodness to be had there. Rewriting a Solana application is a lot easier than trying to support the entirety of the WASM VM and making sure that it interoperates with the C-chain stuff, etc., etc. So I'm not doing anything whatsoever, but if you guys decide, hey, I'm going to take the Move VM and port it to Avalanche, I'm going to be your #1 champion and supporter. I would love to see that happen. I would absolutely. I just don't want to do that work because I don't see the upside myself. But if you want to do it, and it's a great project, then I'm your #1 fan, and I'll be right behind you, supporting you in any shape and form I can. All right. Oh, we're getting slightly over time. Do I think Solana will survive? I've talked about Solana enough. I wish them the best of luck, right? There was a huge skew injected into the market by our good old friend Sam. And I should have known that something was wrong with Sam when I first spoke to him. He showed no reaction to anything technical we told him. Absolutely no reaction. So he's just a trader, was just in it for the money, and then did some really hokey, highly fraudulent things, and ended up stealing people's coins and using them, selling them to prop up, to buy his shit coins, the Sam coins. And so it's really a terrible thing to do. And I can't wait to just wash all that crud out of this whole entire space. It doesn't belong. And the failures were not crypto failures. They're being projected onto us as if they're crypto failures. They have nothing to do with crypto. It's a central custodian. And you drove him overseas. Then you let him get into bed with you from overseas. What the hell was that? Why is he in the Bahamas coming into DC all that often? That's also so screwed up. And when he donates to your political cause, why would you accept his money? Get him into the US first. I'm here. We're all here. The rest of us are here. Everybody who's not a scam would have no reason to step outside. I'm right here in Manhattan. SDNY is over here. And he is in the Bahamas. And he's running away from a congressional subpoena and from the SDNY. So literally a fugitive for a while. He got called a fugitive, and his mother laughed. Apparently, it's not funny. It's not funny at all. So anyway, so there is a huge skew in the market, and the market has to work its way out of that skew. I can't wait to see that happen. We'll see. There's a lot more that needs to work out of that setup there. How often did I read papers in grad school? Is this a real question? How often did I read paper? Every day. That's not true. Some days I would just code, but almost, like half my week was reading papers. So it's most effective. I can talk a little bit about this at some other time, maybe. It's most effective if you do it in batches. So we used to have the proceedings of conferences printed back then. So I would take them with me. You just sit on the couch and you pour yourself some tea, and then you take notes. And you guys have to, of course, know how to read these papers. You don't read them the same way you read a book. You read them in this funny way. You read the introduction, the conclusions. You take some notes on what you think you should learn from the paper. Then you read the intro. You can actually, oddly enough, sometimes skip. Sometimes most information is there. And then sometimes you read for methods, or sometimes you skip it entirely. It doesn't matter to you. So there's an efficient way to reading these papers. And your life in grad school is often first 3 years is just just reading a crap ton of papers to catch up to the wavefront of activity. And, like there's human knowledge. I don't know how you want to visualize it. I view it as a set of things we know, and your goal is to make a little blip and grow that circle by a tiny bit with a lot of hard, arduous work. And in this process, actually, it's a very repeatable process. You can see that everybody goes through the same phases. Your first year in grad school, a lot of people get imposter syndrome. I didn't, but I never suffered from that. But a lot of people did, and I could see it in many of my students as well. It's very normal to feel overwhelmed. I did feel overwhelmed at times. So you have so much to read. You suddenly realize, oh my God, this place is insanely big. Second year in grad school, you've read enough that you are becoming a bit of an expert in that area, and this is the time when I think like second year grad students are the most annoying people on earth. I don't know if this is articulated, but I think this is well known among educators. So they know enough to be annoying. They think very highly of themselves, and they don't yet know what they don't know. That's the dangerous part. And then third year, that's when things kind of start to gel out, because by the third year, you've tried to write one of those papers. You now understand how hard it is to advance human knowledge, and you have a bit of humility built into you if you're a normal person. So, and then after that, there is a series, and then you've got your career of you've got a pipeline, and results are coming out, hopefully, with some frequency. That frequency depends on the area you are, the kind of work you do. So in areas like systems, the frequency is lower than areas like theory. It takes a lot more time to build a thing and then measure it than to come up with theoretical solutions. So why am I telling you all about this? I mean, this is a question in response to this question, which I thought was interesting. But also, if I look at crypto Twitter, what I see is a set of people essentially trying to go through the same steps. And a lot of them seem to be stuck in their first month in grad school. They can't seem to go through the very first month. You're figuring out where the bathrooms are. You're trying to figure out what a research notebook is and how to do research at all in the first place. And basic stuff is hard. And a lot of people are stuck there, and punching through that is very hard. Some people have punched through this, and they've become crypto Twitter experts. And they're at the end of their first year in that annoying second year phase. And so there are a bunch of us who kind of look at this and we're like, okay, well, this is what it is. These people are going to be annoying because they think they know an area. They just don't know what they don't know yet. And it's kind of fun. You've got to give people time to punch through all of these phases. There's so much more to come once you go through the first and the second years and you're on that new horizon, if you will, where things are getting done and you are advancing human knowledge and you are contributing to something other than the written word on Twitter, then it's a different universe. What do I think about regulations? Thanks. Oh, what kind of a question is this? So which regulation? The ones that pertain to what I can and cannot do, crossing the street, or no, I know which regulations you're talking about. There's a bazillion regulations when it comes to crypto. Some of them are sensible. Some of them are not crypto. In general, there are a gazillion regulations in the universe. I will say this. Almost all of them were prompted by some idiot doing something stupid. Okay? When I showed up as a conscript to serve in the army, on the first day, they gave us a sheet. And the sheet was full of the dumbest things you could imagine. I swear that I will not sleep under a tank. I swear that I will not stick the muzzle of my gun into my whatever, my buddy's whatever it is. So clearly, some idiot that was written when some idiot slept under a tank and then the tank rolled over him, right? It's just absolutely horrendous thing. But, that regulation came to be because some idiot did that. Clearly, somebody else was roughhousing with his muzzle and sticking it into the buttocks of his best friend or whatnot. And there was a bullet in it and things happened. So regulations only happen when we do stupid things. So first of all, let's not do stupid things. Don't make this idiot, into a hero just because he says he's rich. At least do some due diligence and see if he's actually rich. Okay? Don't make him a hero just because he has crazy looking hair. Okay? So, I had crazy hair when I was in my teens. I didn't go around acting like I was hot shit. We all had humility. So don't make him into some kind of a hero just because he doesn't know how to tie his shoes. That means nothing. So, just because somebody looks weird or looks the way you think, looks like a genius, shouldn't be. Anyway, so you do that and you give him all your monies and you stray from the crypto principles, you get what you paid for. And what you get is regulation. And that regulation will come. And I don't know what to say about it. If I said anything, I'd get myself in trouble. It's just inevitable. You all invited this. We all invited this. Let's not keep myself out of this, but at least I kept us away from the FTX mess. But I kept Ava Labs out of the FTX mess. So anyway, so this is what it is. Regulations come in only when they are demanded and necessary by collective failures. I would very much like to live in a universe where regulations are built into code. They're open and fair for all. In many, many, many cases that I am sure you're well aware of, people use regulations to create a competitive moat and to squash the competition. I assure you that Wall Street thrives on regulation. They love it. They know that none of the fintech startups can navigate the requirements of the various different regulatory bodies. So the more of them you have, the harder it is to compete. Imagine the internet revolution had the phone companies made the regulations. Imagine the internet revolution if for some reason we decided to stop doing law enforcement the good old way, and instead we required that every time you log into a website, you show your driver's license. We would be nowhere. There'd be no internet. We'd still be sending messages around like the Minitel in France, back in the 80s. So there's a reason why this thing exploded. It's because it's a platform for innovation. And regulations that stifle innovation will either keep us back if they're successful, or will simply lead to people running away and doing jurisdictional shopping, as some people did and went to the Bahamas, as others did and went to weird unknown locations. They still can't be traced down. Okay, Stephen, is there any other reason to have node operators stake 2,000 of Ox other than to prove? Yes, that's the reason. To make sure that they're not more than one entity. If we brought that number to zero, let's say Kevin would immediately bring on a million nodes. I don't know why Kevin would. Somebody would come in with a million nodes and would then create all sorts of load on the system, and create issues for the system. One evil person could overwhelm the rest of the nodes. So yes, the answer is that's the reason for why we require stake. Are you worried that if we add, for example, Solana VM, then Solana blows up? That will also negatively affect Avalanche reputation. That too, if we start supporting WASM, will it affect us? No, WASM is not a Solana invention. Actually, Solana doesn't use WASM, right? It uses BPF, uses like the Berkeley packet filter or something like that. I don't know, but sure, we don't want to have any kind of an image issue, but no, it's not that. It's just there is no upside. I don't see what are we going to get from that. There is nothing that can really that we want to have come over that couldn't just as easily come over by rewriting the little bit that they do on chain. I don't know if people realize this. Solana transactions are limited to a single packet, 1,500 bytes. They to try to make the system go fast, they did a bunch of things. They're not unreasonable. Solana has nothing that is doing differently from an algorithmic perspective. And they want to reach high TPS. So first of all, you play with the numbers. We play with the way the TPS is measured to get the number up. But the other thing you do is you start cutting here, there, and everywhere to try to streamline things. So in this case, I think one of the things they did, and it's coming back to me, I misspoke earlier when I called it WASM. Whatever the case, maybe it is WASM. I can't, it's like ever since I bumped my head, oh, you guys don't know this. In any case, previous conversation. ever since in the last few days, I've become a little bit more forgetful. But when it comes to Solana's situation, their packets, they decided to make the packets small, 1,500 bytes, so they can process them fast. So what that means, of course, is there isn't that much you can do in a packet. So a complicated DeFi application will end up interacting with a couple more DeFi applications. It might take a flash loan, do a swap, do another swap, then do some kind of a trade, or do some kind of a loan, and then do another swap, and then pay back the loan. This is a complicated series of operations, and it takes time to do that. Rather, it takes space to do that, and they don't have enough space in their packets. And this is one of the many reasons why DeFi hasn't really taken off on Solana. So supporting that system would not really bring us all that much. Take that, whatever they were doing over there, just port it to the EVM. It's so much easier and simpler. If we were to have nodes by identity proofs, yes, then you can have a subnet based on identity proofs if you like. Absolutely fine. Or we would easily have a system based on identity proofs if we had identity proofs that we could trust. Now, the problem, of course, with identity is the main issuer of identity documents are governments. And so do you really want to trust identity proofs provided by the government of, and insert your favorite country? Let's say, I don't know what, Luxembourg. Okay. I don't know, a little too small, huh? And too few people who can suddenly invent, their cousins and cousins and so forth, and overwhelm a system. Or the government of, moving south, Italy, south further, Algeria, Mali, do you want to cut those people out? You definitely don't want that. But if you want to invite them in using the proofs issued by their governments, you got a bit of an issue. So this is why identity issues are very, very complicated. This is why identity is a topic that's hot on my mind, and it's definitely something that we are actually actively working on, which is I'm not going to reveal what we're working on until we reveal the roadmap. Okay, so there are lots of interesting ideas. We should onboard all VMs. Okay, yes, no, that's true. We do. You want to create any new VM, you can. Nothing to stop you. Be my guest. So the question I took, the way I took it was, are you doing this? And I am personally not doing that. But if you were to do it, I am 1,000% behind you. What I would really rather suggest, though, is that think about, and this is underexplored because you can't do it on any other platform. Think about building your own custom VM for a separate purpose. Don't try to build, more of these general purpose VMs. They all look the same. There's a stupid stack machine. I hate stack machines personally myself. But anyway, there's a stack machine. There's some opcodes. They're general purpose. There's some gas accounting, etc. Now, leave that alone. Like the EVM works well. It did it. It's been battle tested. It's fine. Now think about something else you might do. Look at the Spaces VM. It's not at all about general computation. It's all about putting up data that is owned by different people. And if you wanted to put NFT data, that would be a good place to put it. There are many other variants, many other VMs you could build for other purposes. And let's explore those. That's really underexplored. So that's what I'm excited about. Will Core be made mobile soon? Yes, we're on it. How much are we on it? It was made mobile 2 days ago. We did it in the past. So there's Core Mobile. Yes, on Android. Yes, it's there. How am I today? I'm doing great. My voice is actually holding up and I'm not that tired, but I think I'm going to wrap up right now. What is this OPA thing? We're now doing OPAs. I'm so happy doing OPAs, but I want to see some, flaming cheese and some ouzo or something around this. And it's like it's noon for flame. It's a little too early for flaming ouzo. But in any case, OPA to you all. And who is behind Avalanche Arabic page? I don't know, but there is. Well, that's good to know. Thank you, Logmik. I don't know, but I'll carry that information back. the Arabic pages. We do have someone dedicated to it. I would appreciate it if you could email me the exact page that you have in question. I wonder if you're referring to the core translation into Arabic, or if you're referring to the website's Arabic translation. So, but let me know either way. There should be there is a community manager for the Arabic pages, and I don't know who it is, but I'll follow up and find out what's happening. Can anyone deploy smart contracts? Yes, I answered this. When can? Yeah, this is the same question. You'll be able to stake to delegators on Core Wallet very, very soon. Good afternoon from Brooklyn. Hey, yo, good afternoon from another. So our offices are in Brooklyn, and I used to live in Brooklyn until recently. Are there any incentive programs on Avalanche for filmmakers? Yes and no. We have FFOs, first film offerings. So there have been a number of people who tokenized the contribution process into their films and series on the Avalanche chain. And we have people dedicated to this. If you send me an email at egs@avalabs.org, not com.org, then I will route you to the right people. So we just help you do it. We don't, I mean, there's no, we usually, especially in these days, we don't do actual sponsorships, but we will direct you, and we will try to help you. The summit's coming up. That's a good time to do some. I think this is a topic by itself. It comes up often enough. There are some really creative people doing great work, and maybe dedicating a session at the summit to fundraising for filmmakers using tokenization would be great. And we should also think about what additional tooling they might need. So suppose I contribute to your film. What do I get? What can I do with it, etc. I think some cross-pollination and some thought given to that topic would be amazing. Would be very, very useful. Okay, shall I stop here? All these questions are great. Let me answer this. How can we use subnet as part of a governmental program? Sure. For example, we are doing a subnet with Deloitte to help FEMA. So Hurricane Sandy went through. I forgot when it was. I think it's been 11, 12 years, maybe more. I think it was 2010. I don't know. Around then. So it's been about 10 years. It's been about a decade. The accounting books just closed last year. So they need to make sure they never double paid anybody. They need to make sure that everything matches. The amount actually dispersed is the same as the amount allocated. I said there's a lot of consistency checks they need to ensure. And that took about a decade after the hurricane passed through. This is true for every federal emergency in the United States. It's an incredibly time-consuming process of reconciliation. So we are working with Deloitte on a system that allows these things to happen on subnets, and that in turn makes everything far more efficient. I'm going to stop here. It's 2:30, and then leave the rest of the questions to a future discussion. Can we talk about EVM++? Yes, absolutely. I would love to talk about EVM++ at a future discussion. So let's stop here. I'll try to bring other people also to future podcasts and go from here. And I look forward to talking to you next week. And then the holidays are coming up. I hope all of you are gearing up for a very nice December. And I hope that everybody has a fantastic weekend. Take care. Thank you again.